All right, so we get to look at circle graphs another time today in 9-5. This is where you actually get to create your own circle graph, and your homework is on page 20 and 21. So remember again what we talked about, where circle graphs always have to add up to 100%. If you think about it, a circle, you've also learned, if I just take a look one page ahead, a circle is 360 degrees. So if you're filling in these tables, please go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be graphing. First of all, pizza. Almost everybody loves pizza. I know my boys do, and I do too. So if we know that the percent has to add up to 100%, that should help us to be able to, I just noticed an error. This says percent and this says percent. So I guess we have it a couple different ways. You get to pick which column you want to use for that. My mistake. But if you think about percents as adding up to 100 every time, that should help you. Also, remembering that the actual degrees have to add up to 360 degrees, or come as close as possible. Rounded degrees means you may have to do some rounding so that it does equal to 360 degrees. So actually, I'm going to erase this. You have to figure out what it equals first and make it equal 360 when you round it. All right. So we're looking at, first of all, different people voted. You're going to use the protractor to measure sectors of a circle. That's basically just fractions of a circle. And then you're going to show your work to calculate the degree measurements of each sector and then measure the sector on your circle graph. So we're going to definitely spend quite a bit of time on this. If you need help, please make sure you ask right away. So our first job is to figure out this box right here. What is the whole? And remember, our familiar percent proportion is really going to help us. Percent over 100 always equals the part over the whole. So we have to figure out what our whole is, and that's why I put a total column here. All right, if you add up all of those numbers, 30 plus 30 plus 14 plus 12 plus 4, you'll get your total. Check. Make sure you got what I got. I got 90. That means that's going to be our whole. For each of these, you're going to need to write a percent proportion. If you want to use separate paper, that would work. I think it might fit better, or you could use this empty space over here that now we won't need to use for percent because we already have a space for it. So you could write the 30 in there. Is that the part or the whole? You should have said that it's the part. And 90 we know is our whole because we calculated the total by adding all of these up. Total is always add all of them up. I don't know what my percent is, so that's X, and I need to figure it out of 100. So 30 over 90, you may already know this, that that's 1/3. As a percent, then that would be 33.3 repetand percent. And now you might actually get an idea, because of that repetand, why we need 2 columns here. But what you'll find is that the percent may be a decimal, but the actual degrees really isn't. Okay, so if we notice, 30 is also the number of people that picked cheese. So my percent will be the same for each of these. Okay, remember what I said about actual degrees and rounded degrees? The degrees is where you're thinking of a protractor. You know that a protractor looks like this, or you should remember. If you've never used one of these, then you'll get a great experience. This protractor has 180 degrees because notice it's only half a circle. And you are going to be using this to calculate your angles, but remember that an entire circle would be 360 degrees because it would go all the way around. That's not what I wanted to do, but that's okay. So we're going to make this disappear for a second. We're going to use that later. And we're gonna think of, okay, 360 degrees is now our new total over here. We wanna figure out what the total would be out of 360. So I'm gonna write that over here. If you're figuring out the actual degrees, you're taking your percent, in this case 33 1/3, try not to round, out of 100 and figuring out what that would be out of 360 instead. It's a new whole number. All right, and if you made sure to fill your screen with the threes, or if you wrote this as 1/3, which would also be okay in this particular problem, then you should have gotten 120 degrees. And that is the same for the rounded because it's exact. If it were a decimal, then you would do some rounding, which you're not going to do until the very bottom problem. Okay, so if we know this is 120, then we also know that plain cheese will also be 120. Notice we're using our percent proportion over and over again. For veggie, 14 is the new part. 14 is out of 90 when we're first calculating the percent. We change it to being out of 360 when we're trying to find the degrees. So if you do 14 divided by 90 and then multiply by 100, or if you do 14 times 100 divided by 90, you should get an answer of 62.2 repetand again percent. And remember, to figure that out as a number of degrees, we'll just cross this off, and instead of 33 1/3, we change it to being 62.6, or sorry, 0.2 repetand. So we're going to use this over and over again. Maybe you just want to leave it open-ended like this and just fill in that number for each problem. 62.2 repetand. Remember to use the repetand or type 2222222 so you get an exact 56 degrees. Sorry, I keep changing colors. And if you got an exact 56 degrees, then you just get to recopy that in this column. If you finish this up, you should see that it adds up to 360 degrees. And for this problem, this column is going to be the exact same as the rounded. The reason is because all of them are whole numbers. When you get down to the bottom, you'll see in this particular problem where you're comparing different uses of social media, you'll see that the actual and the rounded might be a little bit different. So turn the page and take a look at what we're going to do next. You're going to be creating the actual circle graphs that you're gathering the data for in your table. When you're doing this, you are first going to have to find the center of the circle. You're going to have to do that by folding the paper, but I will show you how to do that in class step by step. You're also going to have to start with a radius. A radius means, and I don't know if this is the exact middle, but you should be able to find your exact middle. You're going to fold here. Oops. Let me try that again. You're going to fold here and fold here so that this side overlaps with this side. That's how you can tell where the true center of the circle is. Once you find the true center, again, you're going to draw a radius. The radius of the circle is the distance from the center to the circle. From the center of the circle to the circle itself. And then you're going to start measuring using your protractor. So this is where you're going to use your protractor, and I have some in class if you don't have one. You're going to line it up. Always remember, something I'll tell you again in class, that you want to line it up so that the line is starting on 0. So notice my 0 is right here, right there. It goes 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. You want to follow those numbers. There's 2 sets of numbers because you might have your protractor backwards. So don't follow the outside. If you follow the outside, you'll notice the numbers are going down. It says 180, 170. That won't work. You need to go up in number from here. And the first thing we're going to be drawing on this one is 120 degrees. If you remember, pepperoni was 120 degrees. So I'm going to follow, starting right here, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way to 120, which notice ends up right over here. Okay, then you're going to draw a line through there. So you're going to have to make a little mark and then move your protractor so it now becomes a straight edge. Not sure how this is going to look to you, but that's what it should look like when you're done on your paper. I actually should have made my line stop a little bit sooner, so I'm going to see if I can fix that, because you want it to stop right on the circle. You don't want it to go past the circle. Okay, and then we can take off the protractor and see how I did. I didn't do the greatest job, but you get the idea. And then once you're done drawing the line, you're also going to have to label it. Pepperoni. And you need to label it with the percent. Do not label the number of degrees, even though it's hard to remember. On circle graphs, you always have the percent. All right, so that's what you're going to be doing in class. When you start the next one, you're going to start at this line, and you're going to line up your protractor so that it starts right on that line. And again, the middle has to be lined up with the center of your circle. So right here has to be lined up. You want to try to get as accurate as possible. And then again, you follow 0, 10, 20, 30, and so on. The next one again is going to be 120. So I'm going to make a line at 120 or a little dot, whatever you want to do. And then you can move your protractor so that you can make the line. Use the protractor as your straight edge. Again, this isn't the best because I'm trying to use this computer tool, but I think you get the idea. All right, ask any questions in class and have a great day.